And then once the guy was down, he started curb stomping him. American History X style, just started stomping the heck out of him while he was full blown on the floor. And I watched it again like 3 times. It was a thing of beauty. It was real fighting back then when the ref didn't get too involved. You know, back in the day, people would have conversations like, who got you into UFC? Who was your favorite fighter? What era did you come in? Which fight made you start being a fan? And people would mention people like Royce Gracie. I remember that. Have you seen that little Brazilian dude? That little ninja he's wearing the pajamas? Why is he wearing those pajamas? Boxers don't wear pajamas. What's he doing? And then it was like Chuck Liddell, Anderson Silva, GSP, Conor McGregor. There's these different checkpoints. You know how it goes. They bring in different people at different times in these waves. And now it's getting to the point where it's going to be like, hey, who got you into the sport? Who got you into the UFC? Oh, man, it's that one dude, Herb Dean. I came in the Herb Dean era. And, I like to wake up in the mornings. It's part of my routine. I like to wake up in the mornings or late afternoon. It doesn't matter. It's not important. I like to wake up and first thing start scrolling through the UFC news. UFC, MMA news, what's going on? What should I be aware of? What do I need to share with the people today? And I'm looking up UFC and MMA news, and it's Herb Dean, UFC referees, Big John McCartney. It doesn't end. I got to go to page 5 to find out anything about any other active fighter. It's all about the referees right now. And I made the joke. I don't know if it was a joke. It might have been a prophecy. I said it, I don't know how many weeks ago. What's going to happen next? Am I going to be able to play the video game UFC 6? And am I going to be able to go on career mode and be like Herb Dean? And I'm going to be able to choose, do I want to do a late stoppage? Do I want to do an early stoppage? Maybe I should call my bookie. Like, is that going to be an available DLC for UFC 6, the video game? It's getting to that point. They're too famous. They're starting to become too big a part of the sport. And man, it always feels like a bad word. I always tell you guys, I hate calling UFC a sport. But that's what it's become. And ironically, and I didn't even think about like that I wanted to get into this. Ironically, it has to do with the referees. That's when it became sportified, But I think one of the biggest indicators to us that things were starting to go off the rails, when these dudes started getting a little bit too famous, is when, look, I think we have a big problem when the referees start having nicknames. Why in the world do our referees need nicknames? And I got a few for you here. I mean, of course, it all started off, and we should have seen the signs since back then. We should have seen it coming a mile away. But we started off with Big John McCartney, okay? And then we get people like no nonsense Keith Peterson. We have Mike, I'm on probation, Beltran. We have smoking that Herb Dean Green. We have Mark thinks he's Goddard. We have Jason, I have a gambling problem, Herzog. We have Mario, if he dies, Yamasaki. And we have Steve, I am the punishment of God. If you had not committed great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you, Mazzagatti. These dudes are getting too big for their britches. This was never supposed to happen. Now, we always talk about fighters like the Diaz brothers. People like, I know it's been said about Conor McGregor. It's definitely been said about Ronda Rousey. And I'm sure when I say this, there's going to be plenty of people who come to your beanie. But we always talk about how there are fighters that, for whatever reason, they just did not grow with the sport. Maybe they were specialists. Maybe they came up in this culture, in this city, in this regional promotion or whatever, where they were able to get away with doing what they were doing. But at a certain level, you have to grow with the sport. You have to evolve. You have to see what people are doing. You have to learn how to not only do it yourself, you have to learn how to defend it. You have to be more well-rounded. You have to keep growing. Well, it needs to be the exact opposite for the referees. And I'm not saying that I need them to devolve. I mean, here and now, yes, please devolve. But what should have happened, they never should have grown. They should have stayed in the background. And it's ironic because Big John's kind of all over the place, man. And I'll get to it in a minute. And he was saying when he did his podcast with Ariel Hawini that refs, they shouldn't be a part of it. When the fight ends and people are talking about it the next day, they should be like, who was the ref? I don't even remember. So he's saying the right things in certain moments. He's saying, we shouldn't get that involved. We shouldn't be the star. But then there's some things that also conflict with that. But hold on for a moment. So the refs should not evolve. They should have stayed what they always were. And right before I clicked record on this, because I do my due diligence for you, I went and I was watching UFC 1. The beginning from 1993. And then right after that, I was watching some of UFC 2. No Way Out. I was doing my research for you. Now, UFC 1 was not Big John McCartney. I talked about this in yesterday's video. Long story short, Big John McCartney wanted to fight in UFC 1 and he was not allowed to by Rorion Gracie, Royce's brother. He said, no. We got to have Royce do this for A, B, and C reasons. You could come to your own conclusions. Big John McCartney was there starting UFC 2. But anyway, so you shouldn't evolve. You should have stayed what you always were. And when you watch it, the referees, they're just chilling in there, man. It's like they don't seem to notice what's going on. At one point, the lady at the commentary table, it was like Laura Stanko's great-grandmother. She was like, I don't think the ref sees what's happening. He doesn't seem to notice. There's multiple groin shots. He doesn't seem to notice the groin shots. Nah, he was just doing his job. He was letting the fighters fight. There was people that paid a pay-per-view for a fight, not for the breakup of a fight. People wanted to fight. People wanted to watch a fight, and the ref was letting that take place. He was letting groin shots happen. At one point, he was pulling on the hair, and one of the male commentators interrupted when the lady kept saying, "What's going on?" And she went full Dan Hardy. And the guy was saying, it's his hair. It's part of the body. I think it's good. They were groin shots. They were pulling on the hair. UFC 1 had biting. There was eye gouging. At one point, dude, I can't remember their names. But if you want to go check, if you want to fact check me, there was this, you know what? I'll look it up right here. And I'm not going to put it on the screen. I'm not going to put your lives at risk. So you guys don't have to look at the screen right now. I'm just looking it up. There was a fight between two dudes named Kevin Rosier, I don't know, and Zane Frazier. Now, in this fight, here's what Kevin did to Zane. In this fight, he did 9 hammer fists. Well, 1 or 2 of them might have been punches. I don't know. 9 full-blown serial gain style shots to the back of the head. Full force. And then once the guy was down, he started curb stomping him. American History X style. Just started stomping the heck out of him while he was full-blown on the floor. And I watched it again like 3 times. It was a thing of beauty. It was real fighting back then when the ref didn't get too involved. That ref at that time, it was like Paul Blart status. Just observe and report. Just watch. Just enjoy like the rest of us. You got better than a front row ticket. And then you can go and gossip to the commission later on. Tell them what happened. Write your report down, whatever. But don't involve yourself. And I have to be fair. Look, this video isn't about coming after the referees. This is a failed setup. These referees are set up for failure. They have no hope. It's always going to be early stoppage. It's always going to be late stoppage. You're always going to have someone mad at you. Everyone's always going to have their opinions. The UFC and the commission has put them in an impossible position. Back in the day, All the dude was in the ring, if you watch it and pay attention, he had one purpose. All you do is be the guy that stands there and you watch the fighters. If one of them goes like this, taps the canvas, says, I quit. Then you intervene and say, hey, in case you didn't hear, hey, Royce Gracie. Hey, Royce Gracie. How come you never let go? That's a joke for those of you who knows that Royce Gracie is kind of a, bad dude in the cage. And he never likes to let his chokes go. Or when he has someone's arm like on the verge of being broken, he doesn't like to let go. It's kind of dirty, very dirty. But he was the guy that would just, when someone is actually tapping out, when someone is actually saying, I quit, he says, okay, just wanted to make sure you heard. This guy says he quit. Or if the corner throws in the towel, Ilia Tapuera style, if the corner throws in the towel, he goes, oh, I saw that. These dudes are in the middle of fighting. They're distracted. They didn't see it. I saw it. Okay, I guess the fight's over. That's it. That was the extent of how involved the referee would get. There were no breaks in the corner. There was no water. There was no massages and motivational speeches. There was none of this nonsense in the corner. They didn't even have rounds. It was perfect. They were basically like somebody that didn't want to be caught up as a witness. There was somebody that's like, I didn't see nothing. I don't know nothing. It was like COVID style. Stay at least 6 feet away. That's what it was like when you watch UFC 1. And look, it's kind of interesting when you get to Big John McCartney, because when you watch UFC 2, I was watching some of it, he was operating himself the same way. He was staying out of it. He was letting them do their thing. But we know that he was one of the dudes that started planting the seeds and making those rules. So he was kind of a covert, like inside job kind of a dude. And I think we need to blame this on Big John McCartney because, again, he wanted to be one of those dudes. He wanted to be a fighter and he wasn't allowed. Rorion Gracie, you got to remember, this was a Gracie infomercial. The Gracies were in charge of this. You have a dude like Big John McCartney who, again, if you didn't watch the video yesterday, he had been training with the Gracies. He was a BJJ dude. Probably did several dojo storms with them. He wasn't just like, oh, I heard about you guys. He was one of them. And Rorion was like, nope, it's not going to happen. So you have Big John McCartney who wanted to be in there, who wanted to win, probably could have won, wanted to make a name for himself. He wanted to be a fighter. He could have been a contender. That's what he wanted to do. It's so messed up. And now he's just living vivaciously through all these other dudes forever. I don't know why he never went to another promotion and didn't try to, I don't know. But he wanted to be a fighter. Big John McCartney is a self-loathing referee. He didn't even want to be a referee. So he started finding ways to make it about himself. It's kind of like if I can't have you, no one can have you kind of a situation. He's like, well, if I can't be a fighter, I'm going to find a way to insert myself and I'm going to ruin it for the fighters. I'm going to sabotage everything. I'm going to burn everything down. And I noticed from the start, I remember, because I love the old UFCs. I will watch like UFC 1 through 10 over, I don't even care, bro. White House gets close, but it's so much better. But I noticed when I was watching those all the time, back in the day when I first went on my, you know what, I'm going to be like that classic UFC dude. I'm going to just start watching those, and then they just blew my beanie. I noticed Big John McCartney, the dude's got like something up his butt cheeks. I don't know. And now I know what it is. He was resentful. He wanted to fight. And now I feel bad for him. But he was always like, he seemed like he was more aggressive toward the fighters than they were toward each other, which makes no sense. I know, but watch it. It's like he went in there having some kind of beef with them. He was so unnecessarily aggressive toward them. And I think that when he made those rules, I think that maybe it was a way to, and I don't know. It's not like they tell us these things. I don't know how much influence was, a commission is necessary to even make this legal. And then Big John McCartney had to work within that framework. I don't know. But what he did severely watered down the UFC and took us to the place where it was now, we're now forced to call it a sport, which again makes me feel sick. But I think that we would have been, if there was any way to do this, if there was any way around this, and with all disrespect, I mean, I know John McCain is now deceased, so I don't think he would there would be much pushback now. I know back in the day, he was calling it human cockfighting and all that, and he was in all the politics, and it made people like, ah. But now, dude, so many things are allowed these days that I think if the UFC tried one final push, could we do this? Could we do this like back in the old days with no referee? Would they let us get away with this? Look at Power Slap. How can we have things like Power Slap and not be able to get away with doing UFC 1 style again? That makes no sense to me. If we could get away with Power Slap, I think we should give it one final shot, one last push to see if we could get it legalized UFC 1 style. And here's what I think. Here's how I'll summarize it. I think, because I know a lot of people were saying, this is stupid. There's no longevity there. The fighters will kill each other. You have to have... Okay, well, they didn't kill each other in, like the first 10 UFCs. They got away with it when they were still doing all these crazy things that people now say you can't get away with that. They were fine. But here's the thing that I think you got to consider. It's like in states, and I'm not going to act like I have more knowledge on this than I do. You know how like in certain states, you can carry firearms? Haven't you noticed in states like that, there's like less crime? And it's because people know they're accountable to each other. If you step out of line, you need to know I got a piece on me. So watch out. And it's in places like, I don't know, California, where people know it's basically, like Canada or the UK. I don't even think you'll get a slap on the wrist anymore. Maybe like the government or the judge will give you like a sarcastic remark, maybe hurt your feelings a little bit, if even that, which is also dangerous because of hate speech. So I don't even know if you'll get any kind of repercussions these days in certain states. But when you have states where you can like carry and you can actually kind of defend yourself, haven't you noticed that people are on better behavior? Because they're like, I might get shot. So I think it's the kind of thing, just like when I was, in teaching the Mexican martial arts, one of the things that I always would do is if I had a class of like 20 students, if one of them would mess up, I would make all the other 19 people do push-ups. And I wouldn't even have that one do the push-ups. And it would make everybody mad at that dude. And that's how I would operate. Somebody did what they weren't supposed to. They were late. They were having an attitude, whatever, this and that. They were being lazy. All right, go ahead and have a seat right there. We're going to do 500 jumping jacks while you watch. Oh, they're going to take care of them later. When people have to be accountable for and to each other, they figure it out. If you're in the cage and there's no ref there and one of the dudes pokes the other one in the eye, because here's something very interesting. And again, I talked about it in yesterday's video. Here's something very interesting that Big John McCartney said that I loved and that I agree with and that I'm always trying to highlight. Back in the day, like that dude, I was watching Kevin Rosier and Zane Frazier. The dude hit him in the back of the head 9 times. And Zane Frazier's like, hey, I'm getting hit, but it's a fight. I'm still in this fight, whatever. I'm going to try to get up. I'm going to do whatever. Because that's a fight, right? Now, if someone even flicks somebody in the back of the head, they're like, I'm dying, right? And it's because because of the rule. So they're just trying to be like, hey, ref, look at me. Ooh, they're trying to go full Macy Barber. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, I mean, it's the same head. It's the same area. And they just kept fighting. It was part of the fight. And now you barely even graze it. So here's what I'm saying. They're going to be okay. We need to fire referees, either just get them out of there, just have like an AI bot in there. Just, I have seen the white towel or this individual has tapped and then it's over. They don't even need to do anything, bro. Or do it UFC 1 style. Just have the guy there in hush mode. He doesn't intervene. He's 6 feet back. All he's doing is watching for the towel or the tap. That's it. And these fighters have to be accountable to each other. One of them pokes each other in the eye. The other one's like, oh, man, I'm going to kick you in the groin, bro. One of them accidentally hits in the groin. I'm going to bite you. And they have to be accountable to each other. And between themselves, they will figure it out. I think there's 2 things we need to do in the UFC right now. We need to make the referees be once again like they were in the days of UFC 1. And if you think that this is impossible, then you're limiting yourselves, because look at Power Slap. We need to give this one final push. They need to be like they used to be. And the second thing, we need to have a female heavyweight division.